sign first, then we can have a brief word afterwards, or do you
let me
sign first? Okay, so we're going to get that done. So we invite you over.
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, please start a new page if you would like.
Okay.
So, yeah, why don't you? I think that's probably better. For you, you should have a new page. So also when the President came to the African Investment Summit, which was just before COVID hit, it was the last event just before COVID, so that was 2020 January, and I went up with him to Dumfries House, which is the house that the climate change and environmental issues.
That's very true.
So I think that's very positive. I know that
It is. Madam High Commissioner, I will take this opportunity.
Please go ahead.
On behalf of the President and government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the President has personally asked me to come and convey his condolences. He has already done that officially.
Of course, yes.
To sign the condolence register on behalf of the government and people of Nigeria at this very difficult and grieving moment of the immediate family of Her Majesty, the former Queen, on the occasion of this very sad and event of passing away. The Queen was not only a monarch. To us in Nigeria, she represented several things. Having visited this country 2 times.
Exactly.
One, when 3 years after her ascension to the throne and her coronation, she visited in 1953. And spent a period of about 20 days in Nigeria visiting different cities. And most of those cities still remember her in her youthful age.
yes.
Then she kept visiting again when President Obasanjo invited her. I think it was for Chogo.
That's correct.
Yes,
Yes,
in 2003. And her residence then, I think, was Aguda House. So I believe that as a result of the fact that 90% of Nigerians do not know of any monarch or sovereign in the UK, but Queen Elizabeth II. And that goes for even the people of the United Kingdom. 90% of the youthful population, because of the long time that she had reigned.
70 years.
70 years, because of the long time that she has reigned. And this morning I had the privilege of watching the rich display of the British tradition of the accession and the proclamation of the new King Charles the Third, which is a depiction of the rich tradition and a blend of the rich tradition with the modern evolution of governance. And I believe that in itself has clearly indicated to us that the modern and the ancient, in terms of our rich traditions, can blend together and create a very strong and viable community and humanity. So on this occasion, like I said, I came on behalf of the President to extend the deepest condolences of the people of Nigeria. And the loss is not only to the people of the UK, to the Commonwealth, but for us in Nigeria, particularly because for a period of 3 years, she was our head of state. After independence
yes, indeed,
in 1960 to 1963, before we became a republic, the Queen was the head of state. We had a Governor General, and it was after she vacated being the head of state that our then Governor General, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe of blessed memory, became our first president.
Indeed.
So there is this mutual ties that have existed between Nigeria since Nigeria became a protectorate of the British in 1901. And that mutual bond of friendship, of camaraderie, of togetherness that we have experienced continues to succeed. And I can assure you that the Nigerian government is in the state of mourning, and the people of Nigeria are mourning like other members of the Commonwealth are doing. So on this occasion, please do extend our deepest sympathies and condolences to the immediate family of the new king now, King Charles III, and the people of Great Britain. Thank you.
Present the President and indeed the people of Nigeria with your wife to express your personal condolences and the people of Nigeria's condolences. We really appreciate it. As you say, the bond between Nigeria and the UK is very deep, very long. And I know the Queen herself, the late Queen, when I did my credentials to her before I came to take up my role as her High Commissioner, she spoke very fondly of her 2 visits to Nigeria. She reads widely, she follows things closely, and she had a particular, I think, interest and commitment to Nigeria. So that was that part of our time as UK and Nigeria. But as we look ahead to the now King Charles III, and I was just saying to you before the camera crews came in how important that future relationship will continue to be. And I'm very pleased to have been at a very long meeting between President Buhari and the now King Charles III. They share a passion and commitment around environmental issues. Yeah. And the then Prince of Wales, now King Charles III, invited the President to spend an hour and a half with him at his residence in Dumfries House in Scotland. So whilst we mourn the loss of an amazing woman, a woman who dedicated her life to service, who was on the throne for 70 years, and as someone said to me, that's twice as long as most normal people's career. I mean, most people work, don't they, for around 35 years, so she's done the work of 2 people, but obviously much more than that, because what she has done, I think, has represented the UK as our best ever diplomat. Yeah. We have lost somebody who has been an absolutely worthy, incredible citizen, but we also celebrate her life, and we are, as the citizens of Britain, I know Nigeria, are ready to stand up and support our new king and give him every support in as he takes up this incredibly important new role. So thank you very much again for coming to pass on your condolences. We appreciate very strongly.
Thank you. Purposes for us in Nigeria. Don't forget that she was the head of the Commonwealth, to which we belong. Not only that, she was also the head of state for 3 years. At the time of independence in 1960 until 1963, 1st October 1963, when we became a republic, that was when she ceased to be our head of state. And the then Governor General, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, took over as our president. So we've had very close ties with the Queen. She visited twice, first barely upon ascension of office in 1953. And she spent about 20 days in Nigeria visiting different towns and cities. And the second one was in 2003 when Obasanjo was president. So we've maintained very close ties with the monarchy, and she was a very gracious and elegant queen. And for the purposes of remembrance, the fact of the matter is that 90% of Nigerians do not know any monarchy in the UK but the Queen, who has just unfortunately passed on. And we welcome the new king, King Charles III.
What do we look forward for?
For closer working relationship, partnership with the United Kingdom has been very strong. They've been a very strong ally, even in the midst of our difficult times during the Biafra War. They stood for the indissolubility of the Nigerian state and supported and ensured that we overcame that problem. We are partnering in so many areas, even dealing with the current insurgency in the country. There have been a series of negotiations and interface with the British government and British services in terms of making sure that at least we are not overwhelmed by the problems that are confronting our nation. They have always stood as a very, very strong ally.
Queen Elizabeth II, I just want to echo the words of His Excellency to say how fond she was of Nigeria. Before I presented my credentials to represent her here as her High Commissioner, she spoke of those 2 visits to Nigeria that were mentioned and how much she enjoyed travelling around the country. She followed Nigeria with great interest. And I think that foundation of that strong passion of the Queen for Nigeria, for Africa, for the Commonwealth, is part of the foundation for why our relationships, UK-Nigeria, are so strong. Looking forward, as you say, we now have King Charles III, and I'm very happy to say I'm very hopeful that the relationship between Nigeria will continue to grow and strengthen. President Buhari visited the then Prince of Wales, now King Charles III, at one of his residences in Scotland, Dumfries House, a few years ago, 2020, to discuss their mutual commitment and passion around climate change, environment, and so on. So they have a lot in common. And I'm very hopeful that that relationship between the 2 heads of state will enable us to continue the deepening and strengthening of the UK-Nigeria relationship.
Thanks for checking out SYMFONI on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.